You know when you get to a place where your inhibitions start to slide away and you will go from, I am not getting in a fight. I am not going to say anything. I'm not going to take the bait to, you know what? Screw it. Our listener said, how can we avoid a big fight? So your intention is to avoid a big fight. And often avoiding a big fight means that we have to make decisions and choices and still act in our own integrity. But if your acting in your integrity is not to fight, you're going to maybe let some stuff go that you really don't want to let go, but because your goal is to not have a big fight. Hello, everyone. This is the November episode of Sitting Down with Dr. Dan. Today, our podcast producer, Laura Rossi, joins me in our virtual studio to answer your listener questions. As you know, every month, our Sitting Down with Dr. Dan episode, we answer everything you send on all of the platforms, Facebook, X, Instagram, and email, podcast@drdanpeters.com. And we look forward to these. And Laura, hello.
Hi, Dr. Dan. We have a lot to talk about today. We are officially entering the holiday season, and that comes with new questions every year. So with that being said, we received our questions via email and social. Shout out again to our incredible listeners for, being honest, asking your advice, and teaching us all something in the parent footprint community.
Helping us grow.
Number one, Dr. Dan. And by the way, there aren't any descriptors around this. It's just a big general question. So I feel like everyone can dig into this one. How can we avoid a big fight at the Thanksgiving table this year?
Okay, very simple. Don't have Thanksgiving dinner. And if you do not open your mouth.
How about only to eat? Only to eat.
Yeah, but if you, there's an opportunity for something to slip out.
Get straws.
Okay, next question. Okay. Okay. That was
has there ever been a Thanksgiving holiday where there isn't even a little bicker? I mean, let's be real.
Well, holiday, right? Holiday gatherings, big family gatherings. We know for millennia, they are always ripe for some riffs, some inappropriate comments, some overly aggressive reactions, some over drinking by some. And it's not usually all that shocking when it happens because, so here's the thing. We always talk about awareness, right, on this show. So let's start with awareness of what are the likely topics that would create a big fight? Who are the likely individuals that you or others are likely to get into it with? And what is the usual predictable script? The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So this is where we have to take a step back and look at the playing field here and come up with a game plan and know what the opponent is likely to do. And then you have to realize that all you can control is your own behavior. So you cannot manage other people's behavior. You cannot prevent them from saying something that seems so ridiculous, so offensive, or so just inappropriate. And I understand the feeling to want to protect others' rights, protect belief systems. And yet you have to make a decision. How are you going to react when someone picks a fight, says one of their things that trigger you? And I have to say, you can make a choice to let it go. You can make a choice not to take the bait. You can make a choice to not bring up a topic that you know will goat someone to get them into the behavior which you don't want them to, but you're kind of wondering if you can trigger them because it gives you a sense of control over an uncontrollable situation. You can choose this. And here's the other thing, people, not rocket science. If people like to be festive on the holidays, have their drinks, have their martinis, have their wine, have their beer, have whatever you want. Just know your own point. If you do drink, when you get to a place where your inhibitions start to slide away and you will go from, I am not getting in a fight, I am not going to say anything, I'm not going to take the bait, to, you know what, screw it. Here we go.
I'm trying not to laugh because...
Right, let's take some ownership. Yeah. Let's take some ownership.
We can all picture this, right?
Yes,
we can all conjure an actual image of this. And I personally feel like it's not just the holidays. Family gatherings can bring up stuff. And so let's go back to what you said at the top. Right. We can only control our own behavior.
Yeah.
And I think, that's really the golden rule.
Yeah.
Whether it's the holiday or it's a big birthday, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, you name it.
Yeah.
And you cannot rely on other people.
Yes.
You have to really, it comes down to each individual. So, right. It's watching if you drink, what you drink, or not taking the bait, or not poking and prodding, or just having a strategy to, I'm going to walk away if this topic comes up, or I'm going to tell my adult child, if people start asking you about whatever, relationships, politics, things that you don't want to talk about, you're an adult, you can also make a choice.
Yes.
A respectful choice, but and it might be walking away.
Yeah.
So.
And the key is our listener said, how can we avoid a big fight? So your intention is to avoid a big fight. Mm-hmm. And often avoiding a big fight means that we have to make decisions and choices and still act in our own integrity. But if your acting in your integrity is not to fight, you're going to maybe let some stuff go that you really don't want to let go, but because your goal is to not have a big fight.
Love it. So this, for me, all translates down to one thing. Go and get an extra piece or two of pumpkin pie.
There you go.
My strategy. I'll get up from the table.
Yes.
Go get some more dessert.
Yes. So. Yes. Support for today's episode comes from OneSkin. As the holiday season approaches, it's a great time to appreciate the little things that make us feel our best, including our skincare routine. And OneSkin is here to keep your skin looking fresh and radiant all season long. OneSkin's unique OS1 peptide helps your skin cells repair damage and even reverses the signs of aging from the inside out. OS1 is scientifically proven to decrease lines and wrinkles, boost hydration, and help with the thinning skin that often comes with age. And with their limited edition holiday bundle, you've got a gift that's thoughtful, unique, and never disrespectful. It features travel sizes of OS1 Face, OS1 Eye, and OS1 Body, all packed in a sleek leatherette bag. It's the ideal gift, though you might want to keep this one for yourself. OneSkin isn't just about looking perfect. It's about giving your skin the support it needs to stay healthy and strong, no matter your age. I have been using OS1 Face and OS1 Eye for months now, and my skin continues to feel soft and receive positive feedback from my family, friends, and our Parent Footprint family. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. OneSkin addresses skin health at the molecular level, targeting the root causes of aging so skin behaves, feels, and appears younger. It's time to get started with your new face, eye, and body routine at a discounted rate today. Get 15% off with the code FOOTPRINT at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code FOOTPRINT. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. We only have one body, one skin, and only you can choose to make it better. Age healthy with OneSkin.
We put a call out for questions, and we know what people are thinking about. So question number 2 also does talk about the Thanksgiving holiday, which, just want to say that we know that also is a whole other topic and episode about kind of the history of Thanksgiving. And we know everyone has opinions and hopefully open minds about that history. We're not going to get into it today, but we want to acknowledge it. And that leads into this question. Dr. Dan, our college student son wants to talk about the controversy around the history of Thanksgiving at the holiday this year with our extended family. We as parents want a peaceful meal, and we want to encourage his ability to contribute to the day. Are we dreaming? Any advice? How do we handle this? So kind of like a part 2 almost to the above.
That's very real. And
maybe this is a history major.
Yeah, so I think we have to talk a little bit about the history of Thanksgiving and why this college student wants to be real and talk about the reality. And so, many of us were raised with a story of Thanksgiving, and where that came about and why we give thanks. And the real history is not like that. The real history has to do with slaughtering indigenous people. All right, so I just said it. So
keeping it real, as we always do.
Okay, so I mean, we dealt with this a couple years ago in our house, and I mean, I remember distinctly having this conversation with my parents and just saying, "Hey, I think we just have to be really real about this. This is a time where we get together as a family, and we appreciate each other, and it's a ritual, but we also have to acknowledge what's behind this." So we aren't complicit into a story. Like, we could do both. We can come together as a family to celebrate each other and have gratitude. And we can also talk about the reality of the story and what really happened and how it doesn't feel right to celebrate. And so I know this gets really, and fortunately, my parents are very open to these discussions. But I totally get this college student, especially in college, you're finding your identity, you're speaking your voice, and you're trying to be real and authentic to the degree that you can at that place in life. And to come back to something which is not aligned in your beliefs and to see your family maybe deny something or not, it's hard. And so if you want your child to be a part of it, you want to support your child and listen to your child and what is it that they want to say, help them understand maybe how their grandparents, their aunt and uncles, how they might feel about it, where their sensitive spots are, maybe ask and recommend an approach to have a discussion. Because when people come in strong, right, that just polarizes. And if you come in hard, which lots of people do come in hard when they feel strongly about things, and college students tend to come in hard, passionately, that will alienate people. And I think this is an opportunity to help your young adult child really cultivate a skill. Like, if your goal is to educate, there are ways of educating where people listen and then you can listen and there can be a respectful exchange and help them understand like how you shut people down. And so to me, I think it's really about social intelligence, emotional intelligence, using this as an opportunity, because if your child will not get a voice, will not be able to say his or her truth, and then you want them to participate fully, that's just probably not going to happen. So I think we got to be real with respect.
I have nothing to add to that. That's lovely. And I'm saying it's 100% correct. So bravo, Dr. Dan. And I'm really kind of in awe of both this son and the family.
Yeah.
That they're, trying to come up with a compromise and a way to move forward that respects everybody.
Yeah.
So thank you, listener. I don't know who you are.
Well, because we have aware listeners, right?
Yes.
We have aware listeners. It's awesome. Yeah.
I learn just as much from our listeners as I do from our shows and from you, Dan. It's just really incredible. So, okay, moving on into social media, also a topic that, an infinite number of questions. Question number 3 today is about TikTok. Dr. Dan, TikTok has a lot of dangerous games and social media challenges, as I'm sure you know. Our middle school daughter has a lot of friends using the platform just like she is for the very first time. How do we as parents help her navigate away from dangerous challenges? We are scared as parents.
Yeah, this is real. It's a real thing, and it's a real issue that exists, and it's a real parenting challenge.
It definitely is.
So, we always talk about conversations, communication, and as much transparency as possible. And to me, starts with a conversation that you're aware that there's these challenges. Science is talking about these challenges. Legislators are working on how to protect teenagers from social media and the negative impacts. And one of them are these really dangerous challenges that take off and people get peer pressured into doing them and they think they're going to be cool and accepted if they do. But many of them are really dangerous. And we're experiencing this for the first time. We know you are. We would like to ask if you can educate us and share some of this stuff with us so we can learn and we can help you navigate this. Because what we've learned is you're not supposed to be able to do this alone. And the people who create these things are trying to manipulate all of us. So can we agree that you'll just share with us what some of these things that you're seeing, and if anything is upsetting to you, or if you feel pressured, and we will not judge you. We will not tell other parents. We will keep this between us. But we really want to help you stay safe while you're learning about TikTok and social media and the challenges.
It's a nice feeling for kids to feel like mom and dad, or mom and mom, or dad and dad, or whatever name you use, are with you on something like this, which is kind of uncharted territory. I would love to add a little insight for listeners about peer pressure, because that's the piece that our kids are really good at hiding, and trying to deal with on their own. And that feels really embedded in this. And so what about that? What about there's all this open, great conversation, and then the minute you're kind of away from mom and dad or alone with your friends, and they're urging, pushing, goading, what do you do? If this is, again, I guess, I'm assuming our listener parents will tell this to their kids, but if kids were listening, I guess, what would you say to these young people?
Yeah, just that all of this is really new. And it's totally normal to want to do what everyone else is doing, and be on all the platforms and watch the TikTok videos and even do the things that people are doing, which seem to get some initial positive feedback. However, a lot of the time, when large groups of people are pressuring people to do things, or people are pressuring people, it's actually not good for them. It's like this group think, and that you need to be like us to make us feel better, and for us to see what you're all about. And it's just that human nature is they like people to do what they do so they feel better about themselves. And it's really about discerning and stop before you do something. Think about something before you do it. Talk to your close friend that you can trust. Talk to another family member that you trust, a cousin, an aunt, or an uncle, and please talk to us, because this is all new and it's designed to suck you in and keep you thinking about it.
Right, and not to keep you safe. There is
no, it's not designed. It's not designed for safety.
Right.
No.
Right. Just go in knowing it's probably not safe. I mean, I really remember a lot of the media around the Tide Pod challenge, which I don't even think TikTok was around then. I think it was happening on Snapchat and maybe Instagram, but there's always going to be that kind of group think, and there's nobody filtering it for safety or anything good. It just can't lead to anything positive.
Yeah.
So good luck. Let us know. Right back again. We want to follow journeys, as you're on them as parents. So okay, these are kind of tough questions, Dr. Dan. This is reflecting, we're back into the school year, we're back into routines, and we're navigating a lot. So number 4, I'm a mom who witnessed some bullying by my friend's high school son recently at a recent school sporting event. Should I approach the son or his parents about this? Yikes. That's upsetting too, right? It's your friend's child.
Yeah.
So you supposedly know the kiddo.
Yeah.
You also know the parent. And doesn't sound like it was, I saw a little something. This writer, is using the term bullying.
Yeah. Yeah, this is it. It's tough to know which way to go. And to me, this is not a right or wrong. It's about what you feel compelled to do and what the potential consequences are, and which like where the scale is tipping. So if you talk to your friends' parents, when you get these older age kids, if at all possible, you're trying not to do tell-on behavior. You're trying to address situations with these emerging adults, late teenagers. I realize there's some behaviors that are really scary and dangerous, and you might feel you need to tell the parents because you're really concerned about the kid's safety. So in this situation, one scenario, as you talked about, is telling the kid's parents. Then the question becomes, what do the parents do with that information? What does that do with your relationship with the parents? What does that do with your relationship with the child? And what does it do with your kid's relationship with the child if that person finds out that you told on them?
Because that's complicated.
Right, because people who get told on, particularly people who engage in bullying behavior, it could turn on your child. Especially,
think about that,
especially
Dan.
if they get in trouble. If they get in trouble, their parents come down on them because you said something. Who are they going to turn to, perhaps, to get even?
Yikes.
So
this is even more complicated than I thought upon first reading it.
Yeah, then there's that scenario. And then often, a powerful interaction is addressing the teenager themselves, not telling on them. Basically saying, hey, you can take lots of approaches. I'm wondering if you're okay. I witnessed something that confused me, and I saw this occur, and it made me feel really uncomfortable for that child and for you. And I'm concerned about seeing that behavior. And so there's like coming from concern and working your way in. And there's also from, hey, as someone who's known you a really long time, I'm not sure what this is about, but what I saw is bullying and picking on someone. And we know that can have a long-term negative impact on an individual. So what's going on? Like, so there's coming in, depending on your personality, depending on the relationship, if you're going to take that route, is one of concern, or one you need to use a little bit more of a hammer and be direct because you have a certain kind of relationship with this child, or you actually just want to be like, you know what, I'm just going to say it. They need to know this. And then the third response that I'm thinking of, and Laura, you might have some others in a second, is the non-response. And that's a hard one, right? Like looking at everything, which is, am I willing to cause potential conflict with my friend's child by addressing this? Like, is this my thing to address? And this is why there's not right or wrong. There are a lot of people who are really, strong advocates for health, safety, justice, and who just say, you know what, I'm going in. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. Like, this is wrong and I need to do something. And there are other people who are for a lot of good reasons more cautious about doing that. But I feel it's like digging deep and feel like how you will sleep better at night, knowing who you are, knowing what you experienced, and knowing the context, which we, of course, cannot fully know.
And there's a lot of gray area. I knew that this question had layers when I saw it come in, and when I read it just now, and then as you kind of unpeeled, the layers, or, peeled back the layers, I see that there's even more under the surface. And so the first thing it's actually taking me to is, if there is a scenario, I'm wondering what you think about this. I'm sort of less answering, more asking more, which is, what if the relationship between you and your child and you and this person's son and your child and this person's son, is there maybe a path to saying to your own son or daughter, I saw person X do this, you weren't there. I feel like if you feel cool about going to him and saying, listen, my mom just saw this happen, I wasn't there, and we both are kind of like, is everything okay? Do you need someone to talk to? And if you want to talk to me, I won't say anything to my mom, but we're worried about you. So it's the concern piece, but the cautionary thing I'm feeling as a parent is that putting too much on your own child?
What you're making me think of is, you might have the relationship with your child that you could say, hey, I saw this. Do you know what's up?
Okay.
Like, you can have a relationship with your child. Doesn't mean it's on your child to do something about it.
Right. But maybe you can be that transparent with your own child, and then you're going in.
Yeah. Whoa, I saw this. And whoa, is something up? Is there something I should know? It's just to kind of see, is like, oh yeah, they're like doing this all the time, or no, that was weird, or I don't know.
All right. More so maybe it's a little bit of information gathering, but no, I'm giving my child marching orders to now go and ask. No. That's the
That'd
wrong
be very
thing.
difficult.
So we're definitely not doing that.
No.
So I feel, again, as a mom, this is upsetting to me as a mom, putting myself into this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand, because it's a gray area, that it's very individual. And so I think this mom probably has to sit with it a little bit more and hopefully listen to this episode and think about what's the right path to figuring out if this is a child in distress, right? Mm-hmm. Looking for help, kind of crying out for attention because something's up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't like it. And I don't like it because I'm really sensitive to the bullying stuff. And I do think that, one bully can affect a lot of people. This even shows that, right? It's kind of turmoil around it for the mom, for whoever was bullied, maybe for the bullier.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is very individual, and I'm glad that you kind of peeled it back for us.
Yeah. I mean, I'll relate to that too. I mean, when I have witnessed bullying, it enrages me. I mean, it just enrages me for lots of different reasons. And particularly any of us who have had kids who were bullied, it just exacerbates, or if we were bullied ourselves, it just, it's a trigger. And it really is about trying to just take some deep breaths and talk it through with someone you trust to decide, like, is there anything I can do that's appropriate? And what are the potential consequences of acting or inaction?
Great plan and great advice. And listen to Dr. Dan, everybody. Not me. But no, I'm saying, like, listen to me, but listen to Dan's advice.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what a lot of people are inclined to do, in all good intentions. So I mean,
it's like a natural response, right? So, okay, let's go to number 5. And also very difficult question and complicated. Hi, Dr. Dan. I am a dad who goes with the flow usually, but I'm going to put it right out there. I don't like pets. My wife really wants to get a cat. Note, she does not like dogs, and she happily grew up with cats. I do not want any pets. My wife thinks a pet would be a great addition to our family and great for our 3 kids. We have 2 in elementary school and 1 in middle school. We feel stuck.
Yes, this is not uncommon. And yeah, it's got to be talked through. So here's some thoughts. So my thoughts for you, Dad, are, what are the reasons you don't want a pet? Is it that they freak you out, you're allergic, you don't want to be responsible for them, you didn't have good experiences with pets when you were a child, you did have some pets and they passed away and it was really painful? It's really trying to figure out, like, what's the core of why you don't want it. Now, I'm gonna go back and forth here. Now, are pets good for kids and families? Yes, they are.
I agree.
For a number of reasons. One is pets give love, and they become important part of kids' lives. Now we know cats are can be kind of fickle in their personality, so we'll save that part for a moment. But pets and kids really bond. They often are very important relationships for them. Cats are even known to take negative energy and support kids on an emotional level, which is just an interesting thing about cats. And they also teach responsibility. And part of if part of the concern is like, I don't want this thing that we're just going to be paying for and that we're going to be cleaning up for and we're going to be doing this. I mean, there could be some ground rules, which I know they don't always follow through on, but like this could be a family decision. This could be something with your wife where you say like, these are the things that I am not comfortable with, or the things that I don't want to do. And I would consider if A, B, and C. Right. And it's to me, it's like how you find the compromise in that. So whatever the reasons you don't want them, can it be worked around? I do know there are lots of people who grow up with the story, my parents never, or my mom or my dad never allowed me to have a pet. It like becomes a story. So of all the pets that I have had growing up and had as an adult parent, cats, depending on the type of cat, indoor, outdoor cat, personality of the cat, are among the most low profile, low maintenance. Excuse me.
Yes,
like
low maintenance.
They're among the most low maintenance if you pick carefully. And all right, that's what I'll say for right now, Laura. What's your
Dr.
experience?
Dan is a cat expert.
I have now had some cats. I've had some cats. Yeah.
You've had some cats.
Yeah.
And I have had dogs through marriage, grew up with more passive pets. So parakeet, fish.
Yes.
Not any, sort of free roaming creature, if you will. But even those, pets were additions to the family, and they were good experiences. And personally, I'm going for the good for the family, great time to figure out compromise, wonderful for learning. So I'm going to add, maybe it's more on the dog side, but empathy. And dogs, like cats, also can support growing children if you pick the right dog, emotionally as well. And so, emotional support animals, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And I will say, as a special needs parent, our dog, although not like a certified special needs animal, when we did research for our dog, we have a guy and he is a border terrier. They are very good and can be trained to be support animals for people with special needs and neurodiversity. And so they give so much more than they take, even with the added chores. And so I just think, we don't know why dad doesn't like the pets. Not sure why mom doesn't like dogs. There's a couple of, things there that feel a little bit black and white. I'm not saying mom has to get a dog, because apparently mom likes only cats and dad doesn't like anything, but clearly there's somebody asking for a pet here, and it's probably the children. So can this be a growth moment for the family? And
that is the question.
I do think cats are easier.
The compromise. Yeah.
So
cats are easier.
Where would you say? I know that just looking at like the American Kennel Association for dogs, there are wonderful books. There's a lot of places you can do deep research on what you might be adopting. I'm sure there are things I can't name because we don't have any cats, but the same kind of resources. And then there are incredible shelters and places where, you could visit and just sort of see some of the animals, figure out, are you adopting? Are you going to a breeder? And, make it an adventure, make it fun. And I think if you're going cat, pick the right cat. That is kind of like low level maintenance if you go cat.
And if you are going to go cat, and I can't give you, I don't have this level of knowledge, but the people who do have cat knowledge that you can look up, different breeds have completely different personalities. And, these days it's kind of like a menu. I mean, the way they breed and, all these different creatures. And you can choose, it's no guarantee, but you can choose a chill. You can choose someone who's, very a lap cat. You can choose one that likes to be by themselves. Like, which ones are the hunters that you may or may not want. So you could do a little research, or you can have, like in our family, one of our kids in particular did an extensive research with PowerPoint presentations for the different types of cats they were considering or trying to convince us to have. And there was a convincing. So I grew up with,
that's impressive.
I grew up with cats, but I was allergic to cats. So then cats had to go away, and then we had dogs. And then with our family, we had dogs. And then this one child in particular in middle school did the research in PowerPoint, and it was always like, well, Dad's allergic to cats. That was always the story. Well, lo and behold, they found those several breeds that are hyperallergenic, and we had a couple of those, and I have never been allergic, which is amazing.
That is amazing.
These cats brought a lot of love to our family.
I am so impressed.
Yeah. So I became a cat guy. Yeah.
See? Yeah. We can always grow and widen our experiences if we stay open.
Yeah.
All right.
Good luck. Good luck with that conversation. And do send us a picture of what you end up with.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So these were great questions. We always get great questions, but these felt like ones where we could really get
very real. They're all
Dr. Dan wisdom.
They're real.
It's a Wednesday when we're recording this, so Wisdom Wednesday.
Wisdom Wednesday.
And that's a wrap.
Well, you know what? I am going to there's something that's been going on in my mind, and I also just want to acknowledge now that we are in November, and there is a lot of emotion going on besides entering the holidays. And I just want to acknowledge the intensity of the times we are in, the polarization that we are in, the people, the fear that people are in, the fear and worry. And what I'm trying to focus on, and which is compelling me to talk about this, is how can we lean in with more curiosity, lean in with love, lean in with compassion, because everyone believes what they believe very, very much. And everyone has their points of views, has their personal experiences, and there's just a lot about each other that we do not know or understand. And we need to come back together. Like we need to come back together. We need to be curious, and we need to be compassionate. And our human species is in process. Clearly, we are in process. We are evolving. I know some people feel like we are devolving, and regardless, we are in a really interesting time period, and we will look back on this time period at some point and understand it better. But for now, let's just all be humans, and let's lean into one another, and let's show love and compassion and respect while we're all trying to just do our best each day.
Thank you, Dr. Dan.
And we collectively sigh. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. And the questions are always just, again, so real and so human. And that's what we all just have to keep modeling for ourselves and our kids, is to be real, to be human, to be fallible, to be imperfect. And we're all just trying to figure out this human game that we are all in, and this human life, and raising many of them as well. So
yes,
continue
absolutely.
to be honest with your kids while being age appropriate, and being real and authentic, but also where you can keep things from them so they're not scared or fearful or worried about you. We just got to be mindful of that. And as your kids do get older, you, has been our experience, you get to talk about everything. It's just about how do we dole out the information based on who they are, what's happening, and being real with also helping them feel as safe as possible. Thank you for listening, everyone. A reminder to listen to our awesome 6 funny, deep, exactly right favorites. We had a series that we have finished, 6 episodes, and they have all been released on our regular feed. Remember our promo codes and links from all of our incredible advertisers, which are online at exactlyrightmedia.com/promos. You will find all the latest deals there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of our show. And thank you for just being the best person you can be in each moment, even when it doesn't feel so great in the moment. That's part of the process, the human process. Do your best to be that person you want your child to become, and ask yourself the guiding question, what footprint do you want to leave? This has been a Peters and Rossi production. Parent Footprint with Dr. Dan is produced by Laura Rossi. Our engineer is Phil Rossi. Theme music is Mountain Spring High, composed and performed by Gabriel Lewis. Artwork is by Garrett Ross. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Parent Footprint Podcast, and on Twitter at Dr. Dan Peters. For more information, go to exactlyrightmedia.com.